Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. Incredibly. Good news, I bounce very well. I'm very bouncy. All right, well, let's talk about the fourth Sunday of Advent. And remember last week I told you we're holding out. I know pink we think is the girl one. It's not. It's this one. This is Girl Sunday. This is Girl Pride Sunday, which means it's one of my favorites. So I want us to really dive into this. So many of you are probably used to, you get the same sermon every Marian Sunday, because I feel like I preach the same thing every Marian Sunday, which is really me reclaiming Mary. Some of you know that I was educated in Roman Catholic schooling. Not because I was ever Roman Catholic, but because they just had the best schools in town. So I'm this weird amalgamation of Episcopal, but also I have this Roman Catholic education too. It's weird. It's as messed up and schizophrenic as you think it sounds. It's really intense. So I grew up in a very, very feminist household. In fact, my father always said to us, "Now, Maggie, you can be anything you want to be when you grow up, as long as it's after your second term in the U.S. Senate." I failed my father, but that's okay. So we came from a very, very feminist household. And here I was in Roman Catholic schooling, complete with the nuns and the whole 9 yards. So Mary was complicated in my world, very, very complicated. And so Mary was lifted up as kind of this, what women are supposed to be like, but they cleaned Mary up. Like, we didn't talk about the Song of Mary. We talked about Mary being virginal and obedient, and she looked really good in blue, and she was somehow weirdly blind, which I don't know how much you know about the Middle East, but probably wasn't. In fact, we celebrated all the Mary events, and we would walk from our school maybe 2 miles, a mile, I don't know, to the convent where there was a statue of Mary. And the girls, would wear robes similar to this, but much less clergy-esque. And we would have things on our head with flowers, and we would dance around the statue of Mary, hearing how wonderful we were, and we were going to be good virgins until we made babies for our husbands. Yeah, I'll let you know how that went. Anyway, so that was the picture that I had of Mary all the way through my childhood. And then in college, I really started to understand a little bit more about her. But I will be honest, I'm going to be completely honest. I did not like Mary growing up. She was not my favorite saint. Like, when we all had to dress up as our favorite saint, I went for St. Francis. Complete with my mom had to make a monk robe. Mary was not the one that I went to, because that was not, in my mind, the epitome of what a woman should be. It just wasn't. And so I kind of outwardly just rejected her. It wasn't until college, when I was studying religion and preparing for the priesthood, that I really started to understand her a little bit better. And to this, I feel like every year I give the same sermon, because I still feel so guilty about it. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, this poor woman. I completely threw her away. Because we clean up prophets. These are not the words of a meek and mild woman. These are the words of a powerful, tough theologian who understands that she comes in a long line of women who have carried on the tradition when all else fails. When we have failed as a people, God chooses these women who are tough as nails, and they do it anyway. These are the prophets who do it anyway. So the Song of Mary, the canticle that we read today, is actually, she's hearkening back to the Song of Hannah, who was another woman where the people had failed. The people had failed God. And God chooses Hannah and says, I'm going to use you. A woman who is barren, has failed in everything. God chooses Hannah. And Mary says, wow. And Elizabeth says, wow. We are called to do hard things in the face of a society that does not accept what we are called to do. And we've messed it up so hard that we've cleaned her up afterwards. We're talking about a woman who can theologically say the things that she's saying. She knows Scripture. She understands what's going on. She understands God. And we, how many years later, still continue to disempower her, to clean her up, to take the teeth out of what she's saying, to cloak her in blue, make her virginal, well-behaved, and good. A good little girl who does what she's told. That's not the Mary that we have in the Bible. That is not the Mary that is the mother of the Christ. And that is not Elizabeth either. You have two women who are given by God children. And what do they do when they come together? They don't pick out colors for the nursery. They're not doing any of that. They're not talking about how great baby daddy is. They're talking about overthrowing the world. Think about that for a second. These women get together and they're like, I got the Messiah. I got the Messiah's backup. And we're taking over things. We're ripping down things. We're remaking things. We're changing the world through God. That's not clean. That's not nice. And that's not meek and mild. And you and I are called to that. You and I are called to listen to the voices that we try to clean up, the ones that we don't like to hear. And we are called to be the voices that the world tries to clean up. And that's tough sometimes because we live in a world that wants to tame everything. We are told again and again, hush, smile. You know, you look better when you smile. Be nice. Be nice. You know, stop being so strident. You know, come on. And we all hear those voices. You think I'm preaching just the women, don't you? I'm not. I'm preaching to all of us good, middle-class, white people. We're just nice. Midwestern nice. There's a reason there's a term Midwestern nice. Because we're all worried about what we think people might think about us. Only in the Midwest. We're like, well, they might be offended if I say that in the wrong way. So I'm going to be really nice about it. Like you're trying to reach something in the grocery store, you're like, oh, excuse me. Oh, sorry. No, you're good. I was just warning you I'm back here. Really? No, you weren't. You were like, get the heck out of my way. I'm trying to get my canned beans. We are called again and again in this world to clean things up. Let me just tell you, the world has never changed by people being nice about it. Nobody was like, oh, hey, Adolf. I know you really want to take over the world and annihilate people, but maybe, I don't know, I'm just thinking maybe we could do it differently. Nobody's ever been like, well, you know, I just feel like slavery is wrong. I just feel like human rights are important. And people are like, oh, you're right. Mm-hmm. No, the world doesn't change by us being super saccharine nice. The world changes because we hear uncomfortable voices, because sometimes we are uncomfortable voices. That's how the world changes. And that's why we have to go back to Scripture again and again and again and reclaim it again and again and again, because we live in a world that turns it into Christmas card pictures. Can I just tell you, I grew up on a farm. There is nothing sweet smelling about a stable. And don't get me wrong, I love the smell of a horse stable. Love, love, love it. There's nothing better than the smell of a horse stable. But it ain't something you want to put your baby in. But we do this again and again and again. We clean it up, so we make it tame, so it's not as uncomfortable. We only change the world through our discomfort. And that is why this Sunday we are called to be uncomfortable again. We are called to make the world uncomfortable again. And when we do that, Jesus leaps within us. Which is not as comfortable also as it sounds like, because some of you who were here when Caroline,
we want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.
Stomp on my bladder all the time. So it's not nearly as sweet sounding as it sounds.